I'm Norman Robinson, and welcome to Affordable Housing Matters. On August 29th, you'll recall, 2021, 16 years to the day after Hurricane Katrina, our community was ravaged yet again by another devastating natural disaster, Hurricane Ida. But we are a resilient community, as we've proved time and time again, and now our region is in the recovery mode once more. On today's show, we will have two guests who will provide you, hopefully, with the much-needed information to help you in your recovery efforts. So let's get right to it, shall we? The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, is an agency of the United States Department of Homeland Security. It was created under executive order by President Jimmy Carter with a dual mission of emergency management and civil defense. And joining me right now, we're happy to say, to discuss how FEMA is here to help us recover after Hurricane Ida is Mr. John Mills, External Affairs Officer for FEMA. Welcome, Mr. Mills.
Norman, thanks so much for the invitation.
And thank you for graciously agreeing to be our guest. As you know, this is a stressful time for many of our viewers, or should I say most of our viewers, and they want to know where FEMA is in the effort to help them in their recovery.
And right now we're working with survivors one-on-one. We work with each of the affected households on a case-by-case basis. What's really important for people to remember, and you know this well, insurance is really your first line of defense. So you may have homeowners insurance that protects you from hurricanes and wind, plus flood insurance. So you may have to file more than one claim. By law, FEMA's not allowed to duplicate insurance payments. So we're working with people to provide for critical needs that they may have, basic home repairs for homeowners, temporary rental assistance for homeowners and renters if they have damage and need to relocate, or they had expenses related to needing to relocate. We can also help people with other needs not covered by insurance, such as replacing personal property that's been destroyed and other disaster-related expenses.
How does one go about the rental assistance? Because, as you know, a lot of properties were damaged, severely damaged by Hurricane Ida. I think that we have these are the strongest winds that we have experienced in quite some time, and a lot of properties are no longer available. So where do people go to get rental assistance, and where would they live?
So what FEMA does is provide the funding. Okay. So we've provided more than $400 million in grants directly to survivors for those needs, such as rental assistance. But you're correct. What can happen in a disaster is that it can exacerbate existing housing shortfalls, and housing, especially affordable housing, can be at a premium. So depending on where you live and what your living situation is, we're also providing money to help homeowners with some basic repairs, so they may be able to make their home at least habitable again, and that can reduce the stress on the existing rental property market. But FEMA is working very closely with the state to assess the need and what all other housing options that might be considered are.
Now, I remember vividly the sight of FEMA trailers subsequent to Hurricane Katrina. Are those no longer options for people?
There are really a wide variety of housing options that we're listening to requests from the state and considering. It's a much different agency than 16 years ago.
That's good to hear.
So you think it's your first line of defense is insurance and funding that your insurance provider brings to bear, and some of the estimates are in the billions and billions of dollars in terms of what insurance is expected to pay. FEMA can provide money for basic home repairs, and then rental assistance money so people can get a hotel, get an apartment, find a short-term place to rent. We're also, at the request of the governor, activating the Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program. In that program, instead of paying survivors directly, FEMA's paying hotels directly, and people are getting into hotel rooms. At the peak, we had 11,000 households in hotels temporarily. Thousands are still in that program as I speak to you today. So that's another one of those options, to get a roof over someone's head temporarily until more repairs can be made and people can determine their next steps. What we're hearing, though, and one of the challenges is your apartment may not have been damaged, but what we're hearing is some apartment complexes are closing.
Yes.
So all of the apartments may not be destroyed, but some of them may be, and so folks are finding perhaps that they are being displaced. And so we're working with them one-on-one to make them eligible for rental assistance and potentially this hotel program. So we're asking people to stay in touch with FEMA about what their needs are.
Now, a lot of people, you know, I'm really sorry to say, don't have access to the internet. So what do they do? I mean, where is there an office set up someplace? Do you have a substation to accommodate those people in the instances where they can't get on the internet to contact you and get information?
Yes, and so you mentioned the website, so that is disasterassistance.gov, and that's the fastest way. The phone number is the next fastest way. It's currently open 24 hours a day because of the need. 800-621-3362, 800-621-3362. We have established temporary disaster recovery centers. We work closely with the state on where those need to be located. They give us recommendations, and then we work with the local emergency management in the affected parishes. So we have those set up right now in Orleans, Jefferson, Plaquemines, Lafourche, and other locations, so people can check with their local officials about where those are and what the hours are, and they can also download the FEMA app, click on disaster resources, click on talk to FEMA in person, and by downloading that and clicking on that, you'll see the latest information about where they are and what the hours are. If you don't have access to the internet, I would suggest reaching out to your local officials. They will have the latest information because they're directing us where to set up.
So you don't have a physical office someplace where people can drive to and go in and talk with?
Yes, we do. Right now, as I speak today, we have 11 of those set up in Orleans, Jefferson, Plaquemines, and other locations. So if you need help accessing the internet, we've got someone who can talk to you. If you need to update a piece of your information, you can talk to a person. They'll get right into your file and update it. Some people may have said, my damage is unknown. And now you've returned home and you either have no damage or serious damage. They'll update that case. If you need to upload a document, they'll help you upload the document right there. So that's why I suggest visit one of these temporary disaster recovery centers. You can get some one-on-one help. We're actively working with the state and local emergency management on identifying more locations in the really hard-hit areas.
Now, suppose you have a certain income level and FEMA says, well, you know, you really make too much money, you're not eligible.
For FEMA housing assistance, the income level is not a consideration. What's important to keep in mind is that FEMA is providing for basic human needs not covered by insurance. So you're not going to be better off after the FEMA assistance. Our assistance is for people who are uninsured or underinsured, and they're needing to make the home that they own habitable again, or they need to relocate temporarily if they've been displaced from their home that they own or an apartment or home that they rent. And so it's really taking care of basic human needs. Depending on your income level, you may also be referred to the Small Business Administration for an SBA disaster loan. SBA makes disaster loans not only to businesses but also homeowners and renters after a disaster like this. But for housing assistance, basic home repairs, rental assistance, income is not a factor. For replacing essential personal property and some other needs, you may be referred to SBA. If you don't qualify for the SBA loan for whatever reason, you'll be referred back to FEMA and you'll be considered for additional grant money.
So how does that work?
Everyone is worked with on a case-by-case basis. So the first step is applying with FEMA at disasterassistance.gov or by calling 800-621-3362. And if you're referred to SBA, you'll be contacted. If you're not, you won't be. If you are contacted, we suggest you apply for the SBA disaster loan, even if you don't want it. If you're turned down, you'll be referred back to FEMA. If you're accepted for the loan, you don't have to take it, but that's SBA. That provides disaster loans. FEMA provides grants that you don't have to repay, but you register in the one spot. You apply in the one spot.
That was going to be my next question. What's the difference between the loan and the grant? And the grant, you don't have to repay, right?
That's correct. And a lot of people have gotten the message, and I understand. You know, this is a really traumatic time for a lot of people. But the good news is we've already received applications from and have been able to approve about 400,000 households within 3 weeks. And so people are getting the message and they're working through the process. Of course, the people who are most seriously affected are facing the greatest trauma and may be going through the greatest stress right now. So that's why we have people in these temporary disaster recovery centers helping folks one-on-one, and then we also have teams going to neighborhoods as directed by local emergency management, helping people apply if they haven't gotten the word, they need a little bit of extra help. And we're also very grateful for local emergency management because they're helping spread the word throughout local communities, and they're helping identify the people with the greatest needs.
Now, how are these people trained? Because I remember the problem we had doing after Katrina. The insurance sent adjusters in who had no training. They simply came in and they had this form that they filled out. Some of them filled them out incorrectly. And as a matter of fact, from my own personal experience, a lot of them filled them out incorrectly. So how much training have your people had in disaster recovery so that they know what they're actually doing?
There are a few different teams that you may meet. Some of the teams are trained just to help people apply.
Okay.
And to look you up and say, yes, you've applied, and here's the status of your situation and your application. Other folks who are in our temporary disaster recovery centers have more access and can do more. So if you want to visit someone in person, go to one of those temporary disaster recovery centers and they can provide some assistance. We also have FEMA contracted home inspectors. We've already done more than 100,000 home inspections for people who've reported damage and serious losses not covered by insurance. They're official FEMA contractors. They carry official ID. They will not ask you for money. FEMA doesn't ask you for money, so that you may see them in your neighborhood, and they're really working for FEMA. As they do the assessment of your home, they're trained to assess the habitability of your home. Is it safe to live in your home? So my recommendation is whether you're meeting with your insurance adjuster or with a FEMA contract inspector who may visit your home, or both, be clear about what the damage is in your home. Be certain to say exactly what the damage is and what the condition of your home is as a direct result of Hurricane Ida. If you're not satisfied, ask for another assessment. Make sure everything is known.
Not to put you on the spot, but if you were in this particular homeowner situation, who are you going to call first? The insurance contractor or the FEMA contractor for the roof assessment?
You're calling your insurance first. That's your first step. By law, FEMA can't duplicate insurance payments, so you need to do that. You can also apply with FEMA at the same time, say what your damage is. You'll be asked if you have insurance, and so if you have insurance, you're going to need to get it in writing from your insurance company. So file and submit your insurance claim to your insurance provider, have them process it, get it in writing so it says what your insurance paid for and what it did not pay for. You can provide that letter to FEMA. You can upload it to disasterassistance.gov. You can mail or fax it in, or visit us at one of these temporary disaster recovery centers. Based on what your insurance company does or does not pay for, if you still have serious needs not covered by insurance, you may be able to receive grant money from FEMA that you would not have to repay. But we're going to work with everyone on a case-by-case basis because everyone's exact needs are going to be different from household to household.
Yeah, and everybody's income levels is going to be different too. So at what level of income do you not get assistance from FEMA?
Well, I think a lot of that's in the eye of the beholder in terms of what you think your family's serious needs are. So I would be really clear about that. But as I said, housing assistance and rental assistance are not dependent on your income level. Whether you are eligible for an SBA disaster loan can depend on what your income and ability to repay the loan is. But for FEMA grant money and people's emergency needs, we don't look at income for those urgent needs that people have.
And the little time that we have left, go over again that contact information if somebody is in need of service from FEMA.
All right, so if you have serious needs not covered by insurance, the fastest way to contact FEMA and to stay in touch is disasterassistance.gov. So that's disasterassistance.gov. Or you can call us directly and talk to a real person at 800-621-3362, 800-621-3362. You can check with your local officials about where a temporary disaster recovery center may be open in your location, or download the FEMA app, click on disaster resources, click on talk to FEMA in person, and you'll get a list of the locations near you.
And last question, suppose I evacuated on my own ahead of the storm, and I had some personal expenses. I rented hotels, I bought clothes, I went into the cleaners and I put clothes in the cleaners. I bought groceries, and I paid for hotels. Can I be reimbursed the money I spent via FEMA?
Potentially for some of it. I know some insurance companies are handling that a little bit differently. FEMA wants to know about what your serious needs are. So submit your insurance claims. About 250,000 households who've contacted FEMA say they're covered by insurance. So whether you have insurance or not, apply with FEMA. Tell us specifically what your needs are, and FEMA will work with you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. John Mills, who is the External Affairs Officer for FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and we appreciate the very valuable information you've shared with us during your time here with us.
Thanks, Norman. I'm glad it was helpful.
You're very welcome. We will have more Affordable Housing Matters right after this break, so don't go far. The Louisiana Affordable Housing Management Association is the leading voice in affordable housing advocacy on behalf of multi-family property management and owners whose mission is to provide quality affordable housing in the state of Louisiana. And joining us now to discuss how this organization and the managers are helping their residents is the president of the Louisiana Affordable Housing Management Association, Ms. Deborah Kennedy. And Ms. Kennedy, it's so good to see you again. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Not too shabby for old people. Thank you for joining us. It's a very trying time. As I spoke with the previous guest, our citizens, as you know, are undergoing the aftermath of a very devastating hurricane, and we once again find ourselves in the recovery mode. And how does that impact your particular agency and your clients?
Well, the agency, we pretty much, educate our people in the field on how to keep up with government regulations and all of that stuff. But when it comes to something like this, we do have a lot of guidance from HUD. They've got disaster relief plans and stuff that will help guide you through things like that. Mainly, we started getting ready for Ida about a week before. Usually, we let HUD know, if our properties are in the parishes where the disaster is declared, and then they always want to know the damages and stuff afterwards. And then if there are any apartments that are available after the storm that may be vacant but are habitable, to help people that have been displaced. And so that's pretty much what we've been doing. As far as working with our residents, we've been having them talk to FEMA. I know you had the FEMA representative on earlier. So our residents can go, if they have access to the internet, they can go online to FEMA.gov. I know on the mobile app, on the internet on the mobile phone, you can just type in FEMA.gov, and the page will pop up and it automatically says apply for assistance. So you just press on that button and follow all of the the questions that they have, and then you can dial the 1-800 number, and somebody will walk you through. Now there's a wait time, so you do have to be. So
you got to be patient.
You got to be patient to be able to do that. I know I had someone tell me that they waited for 2 hours just to speak to the first person, and then they got transferred to another department depending on your situation. So whenever they say, okay, we're going to transfer you to this, you may not be able to talk to someone right away because you get put in a queue, and then you have to wait for that. But for the most part, once you do get in touch with someone, FEMA is very helpful.
Well, you're the face of the Affordable Housing Management Association of Louisiana, so a lot of this falls on your shoulders. Say I'm a renter out there, Ms. Kennedy, and I just don't, I can't afford a rent, and my job hasn't reopened. What can I do?
Well, as you know, HUD has a lot of programs, and Louisiana Housing Corporation has a lot of programs. They have like home funds and CDBG funds and grants and stuff to help owners to develop affordable housing. So depending on what your income level is, all of these programs are for different income levels. So you'll have some that might be at the 30th percentile income, and then some at 40%, 60%, 80%. So it covers a wide range. And then you have, of course, the those like the Section 8 programs where your rent is based on 30% of your adjusted gross income. So if you get into a situation like this, then you can apply at properties that at whatever income level you fall in. You may fall at the 30th percentile, in which case you would probably qualify for Section 8 housing, either the portable vouchers or project-based Section 8, or you may do some apply for some houses that are under home funds, in which depending on what their regulatory agreement is, you could fall under a 40th percentile, so you could make up to a certain amount to qualify at 40% or 60% or 80%.
So where am I with the Section 8? Where do I have to fall in the income spectrum to do a Section 8?
Oh, geez, let me think. Now that depends on what parish you live in.
Oh,
too.
really?
Yes.
So it changes parish by parish.
Parish by parish. It's whatever the living
the cost of living,
Right, exactly. So it's based on that. So New Orleans Parish 30 percentile is going to be higher than, say, Little Ridge, Louisiana. So yeah, all of that depends on what parish you live in.
Is that the same for the portable housing?
Portable housing just also it's the same thing.
And for advancing home funds, what about that?
I'm not sure about that. So I don't want to misspeak on that.
But what falls under that category when you talk about what is home funds?
Home funds are funds or grants that's given allocated by the state of Louisiana to develop or rehab affordable housing. Okay, so you may have a nonprofit that'll have like 5 or 6 houses or maybe 10 houses, and they'll rehab those houses, and they'll get home funding to do that. And so then if you get the home funding, then you're required to keep your rental rates at an affordable price. And then so you have your AMI for that also, and that's where I was talking about the 30, 40, 60%. So you can rent a house that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or or any other type of housing that was funded with home funds, and you might pay like maybe $600 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, which in New Orleans would be a good price,
that would.
Yeah, right. That would be a really good price. But that's just to give you an idea.
An example. Okay.
Right. So your income is always going to depend on, your limits are always going to depend on what parish you're in, if you're metro or if you're rural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what techniques are you sharing now? I know you're getting a lot of calls from your clients who are in the devastated areas. So what are you sharing with them in order to recover and deal with this disastrous situation that we're facing?
Well, I've been fortunate that the property that I manage here has not had very much damage. So the apartments are still habitable, and they have electricity. But if there were anyone that needed help, I would automatically send them to or tell them about FEMA, the 1-800 number, which I don't know by heart, but I have it at my office, and also the website. And then my managers know how to help them to either do the application online or help them, on the phone. So basically, that's what we do. Also, there are a lot of local organizations that help when disaster strikes, like your usual suspects, the Red Cross. A lot of churches will do that. Council on Aging for the elderly, and things of that nature.
There are a lot of civic organizations like
Right.
the Rotary clubs around the area. Because
Right.
I'm involved in a Rotary Club. Rotary Club of New Orleans is going to Laplace this, to distribute and cook food and
Right.
clothing for the people who were affected.
Right.
But what about the property owners and managers? What are they looking for? What are they reaching out to you for in terms of assistance?
In terms of assistance, some people have asked, "Is there another place where I can go?" Now I know at the Hub website, there's a section in there where you can go, and it has a list of all the affordable housing properties that HUD has in the state of Louisiana. So you can go in there and look it up, and it'll tell you exactly where they're located, what parish they're in, the city, and the contact information. So you can get that information and then call the actual property itself to see, if there's any availability. Also, if you contact FEMA and they, give you some type of rental assistance, and when FEMA does it, it doesn't matter what your income is. You just need rental assistance so that you can live somewhere. You can take that rental assistance to an affordable housing property and say, I've been displaced, and so you could qualify to live there, but under certain things, because there's some properties that have certain eligibility requirements that have to be met. For example, if it's elderly housing, you have to be at least 62 years of age or older, and then there are some where it's 55 years of age or older. And then there are some properties that are designed just for the physically disabled. So if you're physically disabled and you have dealt with FEMA and you have rental assistance, then you can go to any of those properties. And then, of course, the multifamily properties that deal with Section 8 or with the vouchers, they'll accept vouchers. And it may not even be a 100% Section 8 property. It may be a conventional property that will accept 10 to 20% portable vouchers. Mixed income, correct. And then and you can get that rental assistance and go over there.
All right, Ms. Deborah Kennedy, President of Louisiana Affordable Housing Management Association. Thank you for visiting with us.
You're welcome.
All right. We would again like to thank both of our guests for joining us today on Affordable Housing Matters, and be sure to follow up on all of the information. I'm Norman Robinson, and we'll see you again next time on Affordable Housing Matters.